All right, well, I'm calling the meeting starting at 6:42. We were waiting to get a quorum, but we wanted to at least begin discussing those things we can discuss without a quorum. So this is the call to order, and I don't see any students or any members of the public that I need to have them distinguish if they're students seeking credit. I'll take general public comments on non-agenda items.
I have one. This is somewhat of a sustainability issue. The San Pedro Community Garden has been having some challenges. Not only was there now, the latest update is that there's been a massive landslide over there, which has made about a third of the garden dangerous. That's going to be something that we're going to try to address. There's also an issue with the drainage of the parking area for all of the trucks that are up there. And the Department of Sanitation knows about the issue and has brought together a stormwater team to try to address the issues. But this last rain, the temporary measures that they had put into place didn't seem to be working. There was a lot of visibly contaminated water going into the parts of the garden. So this is going to be a topic of conversation for safety of the soil going forward. But just wanted to let everybody know the community garden has been having some issues, and that's within our area. So,
well, thank you. So let's see if Pat can work without the phone. Do you want to try speaking, Pat?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I'm looking at the agenda on my laptop, which is also up here, because I do have I have some comments or something. Let me see here.
Yeah, no, we can go ahead. There were no action items from the previous meeting, and I do apologize. I did create a version that was going to give us the ability to speak if we had a quorum on a port-related motion, but I see that's not the version that ended up getting posted, and apologize for not catching that while I was traveling. So we're at item 3, item 4, comments or suggestions from stakeholders, committee members. So please go ahead, Pat.
Okay. Some things that Diana picked up when at the Economic Development Committee of the Chamber, or I guess she picked them up because she heads the planning committee for Northwest. Maybe that's where it came from. But anyway, Phillips Petroleum, which is, as you may recall, is involved in trying to get a new 40-year term permit for its terminal in a port, and do a lot of work too. Multi-million-dollar project out there. Asked if they can come and speak to the joint planning and land use committee of the 3 neighborhood councils. So that tells me that they are very close to having their draft EIR completed. And that'll be a topic that we'll be looking at in the very near future. But I bring it up now because Diana asked me, said, should this be going to the port committee instead of to the land use? And I said, well, the land use committee, does a lot of things, and you're talking about all 3 neighborhood councils. So I would say have them come to the planning and land use joint meeting, but maybe that we want to schedule a special meeting for that night too, and join in so we can hear the presentation. I mean, that's an option.
So we would have a meeting right after that meeting, or a special meeting, Pat? And do you know the date?
No, I don't know that it has been set, but
Okay.
we also just simply can decide that we just want to attend. We're just members of the public at that point, but we can certainly ask questions and things like that. But the main thing is to get the information, and the main stuff is going to be written. It's going to be a written document, but we want to hear their presentation somehow. I guess we could ask them to come twice, or we could ask, planning and land use committees, to forego it and just let, the port committee hear it.
Quick inquiry. The site again, is it, which community is it closest to? Where,
It's in Wilmington. It's in Wilmington.
yeah, so, this seems to be something where if we could invite
Wilmington too?
Wilmington as well, yes.
Sure, yeah.
And, I mean,
does
Hudson
affect-
City-
does affect, yeah. It affects the refinery as well, because it's the where they get the oil from, the terminal is over in Wilmington. All public facilities belong to all neighborhood councils too. I'm just really cautious about, because we've had even some of our members say, hey, it's Wilmington, it's in Wilmington, it's Wilmington's problem. Why are we getting involved in Wilmington stuff? But
This is a central issue for all of us.
it is.
Yeah.
But anyhow, how you want to proceed is some of it, Craig, as a member of planning and land use, I'm a member of planning and land use. I think I would love it if everybody from Port we could do it. I just I wouldn't want to cut planning and land use and the joint committee especially out of the process by saying, hey, this is a port matter and the port committees should hear it, because it's a smaller group and it doesn't get everybody involved in something that's a town, an area-wide problem.
I feel very similarly. I wouldn't want to, tell that committee in particular that it was outside of their concern, right? So I think the better approach would be for us to look at it as well, to be supportive, to let that work inform our work. And given this is the first time I've seen it happen this year, that we haven't had a quorum, but a smaller committee does have that risk. We've lost one member and we've had light attendance by a few members. So that's another practical reason not to put it all on us until I feel that the committee has got a really stable core that we're going to be able to meet and do all the work that's necessary. So I think I'm thinking similarly. Your thoughts, Gwen?
I concur with that. When would that meeting be, Pat? I would like to kind of tag it in my calendar.
I hope it's going to be in February before we go traveling, because we're traveling in early March.
Okay.
I say, how about this? When Diana gets the arrangements made and stuff, I'll alert you. Certainly, you, Tom, I'll start with you. And then if you decide you want to do it as a joint port and planning and land use meeting, you can do that, and it can be at the same time. So we could, I think probably Phillips 66 would probably appreciate that. And we could make the same entreaty to the port committee down in, certainly in coastal and maybe in central as well, and also Wilmington.
And community issues for us, they should also be informed of this. I think that anybody from our neighborhood council.
Yeah, okay, so I think that's a good way to go, to have a special meeting, and then this committee can work to attend that and contribute to a special meeting on this topic.
Now, we must have already provided feedback prior to this.
Oh, we did, very strong.
When was that? Because
It was January of last year, actually.
yeah, it was a long time
It
ago.
was such an outcry, not only from us, but from, I think they had 45 comments or something like that. And they all pretty much uniformly
Yeah.
said a mitigated negative deck is not appropriate. And
Right.
so Phillips and the port, actually it's the port, decided that they better do an EIR. So that's what's been happening.
Good. Yeah.
That's about right. About a year for an EIR.
Yeah.
Year to 18.
Yeah, I just couldn't place it. Feels like it was forever.
It's been a long time, but they've been on a 30-day permit since 1990. So,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I have a couple of other items that came up at that economic committee that would be matters, they're not on the agenda, so this would be the time to bring them up. Tom, if I may.
Yeah, please.
The connectivity plan, the port, as you may recall, heard our request and the chamber's request and a couple of other groups' request to develop a connectivity plan for the waterfront. And the port contracted with a company called SWA, and I've forgotten what it stands for, to do the work. And SWA is having is required under their contract to have several kind of rollout meetings in the community, and those will occur probably in the next couple of months or so. But in the meantime, they the port has has invited some people to come in and give their input at this early, kind of in the early working stage of the thing. And I imagine they'll probably get a kind of a status and probably a work in progress sort of thing. SWA hasn't been sitting on their hands, but I think they probably at the stage where they want to get some input from a few people. So that's going to happen next Tuesday. And after that, I think that we can probably get somebody that's in that meeting to come and, brief us on maybe at our next meeting in February, brief us on where, on what they're thinking for connectivity. Other than that, there's we're going to get inundated in the next 6 months probably with several environmental documents that'll occupy our time. One for the fish market that gets for its move up to by the Catalina terminal being one, and we'll probably get the document for the supporting the Niederlander concert venue and the public market site in the next couple of months too.
That makes sense. Augie joined the San Pedro Rotary Club and spoke at that club last Thursday, and he made reference to the fish market move, and he made reference to the concert and talked to the group about the excellent sound mitigation and state-of-the-art things that have been considered by the port to address community concerns about noise that supposedly are working very well in San Diego. So yeah, I think we should be prepared to move on those. So this time last year, we had a lot of the environmental stuff that was kind of sprung on us. I haven't received any notifications from the email list that I've joined since being on this group. I'm not saying that Pat or Gwen, you've got anything, but I appreciate this heads up from the Planning and Land Use Committee or the Economic Development Conference, wherever that came from. So got those on the radar. And what I will do as an action is reach out to Augie then to specifically ask that somebody come and brief this committee on the connectivity plan.
All right, he might be good. Diana is going to go to that meeting next Tuesday, and she'll probably write something up. Maybe I'll talk to her and see what she has to say. I wouldn't put it past the port to say, okay, we're going to do a pinky swear that you don't tell anybody anything about what happens at this meeting. I wouldn't put it past them to do that.
Well, this meeting's recorded for everybody to watch on YouTube, so we can't do that.
Well, that's for the meeting next Tuesday that the port is going to have with us.
For Tuesday, yeah. But no, I mean, is that the will of those here that I reach out to Augie, just make the request? I think it'd be a good thing to have somebody from the port, spend some time with us every month. I don't think that's that big an ask where, it's a big group there. They can rotate it around. I've had a request for Mike that I'll reiterate that, I know Craig or somebody had asked before, and I think with the holidays and stuff, it just kind of got missed. So I want to remind, because I had a commitment for Mike to come, and then I got a note from Augie that I should go through him. So I said, okay, please do this, but maybe it wasn't clear enough. So I'll reroute it using the proper protocol. And I do expect to see him on a weekly basis now, so I can reinforce the email request.
Sounds good. I think it would be appropriate to get a briefing on the SWA from him in the interim. rather than wait for a big community rollout with 300 people.
Yeah, I mean, we're here to serve, and we have had a quorum, right? We have had good attendance. So maybe I needed to send reminders a little quicker to everyone for today, but because I'm still not seeing anybody popping in.
Mm, mm. So another thing, this is hopefully this can spur some action for us, but the UN Biodiversity Conference that occurred, from that, California had committed quite a promise of setting aside land for conservancy, and it's pretty massive. And this harbor area would be a wonderful opportunity for whatever's going to come to Los Angeles. Once again, the lower part of the Los Angeles corridor gets ignored in these things. They usually, spend it on land bridges and things like that up north. So maybe we can start considering funding for things like river restoration or wetland restoration, or within the connectivity plan. Is there still opportunity to create walkways and native plants and more water?
Well, the
Water features?
plan I shared and spoke to lightly does have all native plants, right? They were pretty excited about what they're doing as all native plants. There was no discussion of helping in the waterways, right? The rivers or streams feeding in, but so I don't know if there's the ability to do that. But again, I think we need to have dialogues and just say this is the interest of the community, right? That would be an additional enhancements to what they're doing. What I saw, I thought looked pretty good and pretty responsible overall. And just from my notes, when you're talking, it was called the United Nations Conservatory Conference. Did I get that right?
It was the UN. It was COP15, COP.
COP15.
Let me. Sorry. UN Biodiversity Conference.
Biodiversity Conference. Okay.
And
I think Gwen froze.
oh no, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
She was just
I'm just
thinking deeply.
Were you
Yes.
on Venice Beach in the past? I was making a wisecrack. We're asking you if you were a statue on Venice Beach. The people that are,
Oh yeah.
because you were so motionless there. It was perfect for a second.
All right. I was out last week. We're moving to Area 5. Gwen or Pat, did either of you attend the Joint Environmental Sustainability meeting with Coastal and Central?
No, I didn't.
No.
Okay, so we have no report on that. All right, let's make note of that.
I'll look at the recording. I'll urge them to post the recording. Sometimes they're a little late on that. It probably isn't up yet.
Okay.
Sometimes takes a little bit of prompting, but I will do that.
Right.
Oh, and apparently this might not be for this committee, but Fair Rep LA is a coalition of Los Angeles-based advocacy groups, but there was concern about the redistricting, the city redistricting that went on, for the city council areas, and so there is some discussion to kind of unify around the redistricting effort. This is something from the NCSA. So the Empowerment Congress is to form a charter, is going to form a charter reform committee. Empowerment Congress. So
Okay.
regarding equitable and accountable representation. So I don't know whether that would be a community issues person. Maybe that should be brought to the board.
Oh, I'm not sure there, but thanks for that heads up.
Yeah.
All right, so I got no report on the joint committee, no report on the Fort Neighborhood Council Chamber Presidents meeting. Any legislative updates? Council's only been working for a little bit. I haven't caught anything germane to this yet from that or the mayor's office. I think they're starting to get geared up and populating. Homelessness has been the big city priority.
One thing of interest to us as Port Committee would be Sergio. Maybe it's already been announced and I'm late to the game. But Sergio Carrillo has been hired by Tim McCosker to be his port representative. And that's who Diana was meeting with this morning when we were at Simon's, Tom.
What was it? How do you spell his last name? Sergio
Carrillo.
Carrillo.
Carrilo or Carilo. I think it's 2 R's.
Okay.
Sergio, a longtime political operative and a deputy to Janice Hahn when she was a city councilperson.
Okay, so he is the port liaison for Tim McCosker.
Yeah, and then Diana was relating to me. This is third hand stuff. Sergio and Tim went in and sat down with Gene Soroka to talk, and that's all I know. And he probably told Diana what happened in the meeting, but she hasn't told me yet.
Yeah, but that would be somebody I think we could invite as well to our meeting just to get to know him. So,
absolutely, and he would be a really good. I think it's a great idea, Tom, and I think also we should see if we can make him our conduit for our points of view to the councilman.
Yeah. Do you have his email?
I can find my phone here. Or let me just go on my. Oh, this is Diana's. I got it on my computer. Hold on a second. I am guessing, Tom, excuse me, that we'll be using his Sergio Carrillo. I have, oh yeah, okay, I've got 2 for him.
Okay.
One of which may work, although he's going to have a City of LA email address now, but he may have these 2. One is Sergio at carrillostrategies.com. It's actually 2 R's and 2 L's in Carrillo.
Okay, so it's Carrillo with an S strategy, 2 S's, or Carrillo strategy?
Strategies, IES.
I just want to make sure I get it right. So it's Carrillo, 1 S or 2 S's? So Carrillo strategy or Carrillo strategies?
Carrillo strategies.
Okay, so 1 S there and then strategies.com.
Yes, and Carrillo strategies is all one word.
Yep. Okay.
The other one is Sergio at timmccosker.com.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that's probably still a good one. I don't have
Yeah, the LA ones take a while if he is appointed. I've noticed some of the things I sent to different campaign ones have been deactivated already, but at least it gives me something to try. So okay, I will draft an invitation on behalf of the committee. Encourage him to come reach out and to join us. We would love to get to know him and the council members' thoughts on the port, as well as environmental and sustainability issues, but seeing his role as port, primarily the port. Okay, appreciate that feedback. Thank you, Pat.
And let me just give you a couple of things that were mentioned since the holidays. It's actually in November, and here we are in January from the NCSA. So these were some topics. There's a native plants motion, council file, I'm just going to say it slow for the recording, 22-1469. And it's to create pollinator-friendly landscape plan for monarch recovery. Discussing milkweed and that kind of thing to be incorporated into landscapes. And brush clearance policy and the effect on native plant landscapes. Yeah, there's a bunch of things in there. But anyway, if we might want to discuss a motion or CIS with that. There's also, again, the ordinance. There were two ordinances that came through. One's a plastic ordinance. Well, actually, the one that I had mentioned before was the discontinuing all oil drilling in Los Angeles. That has gone through, that passed fairly quickly and under the radar for the most part. If we could possibly congratulate them for this, it's pretty momentous. And then the other one is an ordinance. Bear with me. There are two of them, actually. Having a problem opening it. It's basically a council file for zero waste city facilities and events on city property. So the ending of single-use plastics for certain situations. Also, there was mention, and this is kind of interesting. I don't know if it was you, Tom, and I that got into a discussion, but over at Wilmington Park, where Tim McOsker had been sworn in.
Yeah.
The frontage part, we were kind of surprised to see AstroTurf of the kind that we were discussing was a concern for the West Harbor spaces out there.
Yeah, but it was very concerning. Oh, it was just falling apart, and
it was falling apart.
Particles, going washing into the water. No, I was feeling bad for the council member because everything about that day was really good, except for that, and I loved why I chose Wilmington, but it's just all the more reason for him to invest in a more environmentally, more sustainable surface for those events.
Well, shockingly enough, there was some talk that it seems that it might be actually illegal to put in parkways.
Okay.
So I got to find out more about that, but there seems to be something on the law books that kind of turf is not allowed. So I don't know where that will go. That this is just an offhand thing, but there seems to be some kind of complication there. I was just surprised that it was the type of AstroTurf that also had the crumbled up rubber, tires, and that has actually been removed in a lot of parts of town where it was put in athletic fields, and there were health issues that were reported by the students who were playing on those. So that we still have that in Wilmington is kind of surprising. And especially that that was before the rains. I might go out there and take a picture of it.
I think that'd be a good idea. That's the Wilmington. I have colleagues at the university who've done studies showing how the environmental contamination, they link to lower test scores in kindergartners, first graders, and second graders. And if that's been removed from most playgrounds, but not that area, it's just another kind of form of environmental racism that I think we should bring to the community's attention. And there should be enough port money, that should be an expensive thing to change. I mean, I know it's money, but if there's that additional health concern because it's that, type being removed, I think we owe it to the community to bring that to their attention. If it's not, I know it's Wilmington, but someone we could at least support Wilmington with it. And again, I think as Pat said, it's a public, facility, right? So it's germane to all neighborhood councils. Our stakeholders might also play or do things at that park. So
The Wilmington Neighborhood Council was instrumental in getting that whole park built.
Yeah.
The land was acquired to expand the terminal north all the way to C Street, to the adjacent terminal. And the community put up such a stink about it and not having any,
Buffer.
position zone and stuff like that. But I'm thinking two things. One is the artificial turf is so much more expensive than sod. I'm thinking that was probably sod before it became AstroTurf. But in any event, I think it'd be really important to check with Wilmington, maybe the chair of their neighborhood council, and say, hey, did you guys request this, or what's the story behind the turf? Yeah, work on the facility. I think it's also probably going to come up again. It's going to be an important issue, because if the port likes AstroTurf because it's easy to maintain, or I don't know, for whatever reason, then we're likely to see that bias when it comes time to review the
West Harbor.
West Harbor SEIR. So
Well, with that, the life of AstroTurf is what, about 8 years. It has a lifetime of 8 years, depending on exposure, and it can be even less. 10 is pushing it, and then after that, it's considered a recycled product more often than not. That it came from recycled things, but once it's peeled up, it isn't really recyclable. It goes straight to
it's so expensive, and I did get a quote on I've got 1,000 square feet in my backyard. You guys have seen our yard back there, and I got some quotes on putting in AstroTurf there, and the best quote I got was $28,000.
yeah, it's expensive stuff. Yeah.
Really,
And I mean, it immediately starts to deteriorate. I mean, if you have a slope or anything like that, wrinkles, they don't guarantee it. You could have a seam where it's been fused, two pieces together. You can see that there may be lines and prints, and as soon as you have a lot of traffic on it, it starts to wear it down. There's nothing that can be done.
just a guess on my part, but I suspect that Wilmington, I hope it's not true, but I suspect that Wilmington might have asked to have complained so much about how the port wasn't keeping the grass up there, because that's the soccer practice area. Gets a lot of use. And so between the complaints about not keeping it up, which I believe probably the port wasn't keeping it up, but that the community may have asked and said, hey, or that may have been the response to the community complaints, that they said, okay, we'll put in AstroTurf, it'll last there, and the kids can practice on it, and we won't have to maintain it. I don't know what the story is. I keep forgetting we're recording. Some of this I might not say. Typically, I don't know, but we can certainly find that out. If you want to, Tom, I'll make the call. But before we go out on a limb and back Wilmington, let's make sure we know what Wilmington wants.
Yeah, no, that's fair to reach out.
It just doesn't seem to be equitable, because if we're concerned about it for open areas in West Harbor.
Yeah.
No, I remember the research and work we did on it last year for one of our community impact statements. So that it was just interesting to see what I'd read about theoretically, to actually see it under my feet at the event, which I and several of our stakeholders did attend, because that's where a council member chose to get sworn in. So okay, well, that's probably enough on that. I've actually drafted a letter and made an invitation and introduction. So perhaps we'll have a guest at our next meeting. And there's Craig. I'm so busy at the notes there. We didn't see him entering. Just promoted him. Welcome, Craig.
Wow.
Hello, we can hear you now.
Okay, I've been sitting out here a while.
Were you able to hear us, or were you?
Yeah, I hear you enough to hear the speculation.
Were you on when we, the thing that was distracting my attention was sending an invitation to the council members Newport liaison? So just wanted to let you know that it was a request that he be invited to our next meeting. And his name, if you didn't capture it, was, I lost. Now I'm looking at you guys, I lost my minutes.
Sergio Carrillo.
Sergio Carrillo. Yeah, thank you, Pat. And then there was a lot of discussion about the AstroTurf.
Yeah, I heard all the AstroTurf.
All right. Yeah, well, sorry for not seeing you and the attendees.
It's okay.
So we don't have a quorum, so we've just been discussing things. We didn't have anything to take action on, so we had made it up to, came up under the legislative meetings with officials, and Gwen harkening back to the inauguration event. Was there anything you wanted to talk about on agenda items 1 through 6?
I'm sorry, I'm not on the, I'll have to call
Yeah,
back
so
the,
I can help you with the topics. We didn't have an update. Nobody had attended the joint meeting. I didn't get a report from the president on and I wasn't able to go. And I don't know that he reached out to any of you on, though I suggested he reach out to you or Gwen had interest in attending the neighborhood council presidents and chamber meeting. Did either of you get the information to attend that meeting? Or did they even have
no,
one?
it's not a surprise.
So we don't have any
Typical
information
Ray.
to discuss there. And yeah, then the rest was just waiting for people to come. So anything you,
Well, there's been issues and it's been discussed in other forums about the park I want to put it across from Target. So whatever, I
Paper?
tend to think of it as John Greenwood Parkway, but regardless of that, there's a lot of issues with it. It was supposed to be brought up in the last meeting and of land use and planning, but it's really port property and belongs here. A lot of stuff seems to be shopped around from one committee to another, but it's port property and this is should be discussed here and we should be working on here.
okay, so I think.
Are you talking about the walkway? You're talking about the
It's a
Gaffey Street
parkway.
walkway. Yeah,
And that's not on the Target side of the park across from it, not the area that we cleaned up, or,
it's the long strip. Yeah,
It's a park.
the greenway.
They're making a connection from the port over. They're gonna build behind there where the skate park is.
Yep.
Which should be somewhere in our stuff. And I think we discussed, I get confused because they discussed this stuff in land use and planning also. And with the amount of stuff we're dealing with in here in port, we should be dealing with this and not dealing with it in land use and planning.
okay, yeah, no, I don't recall us spending much time on it at all. So in terms of concerns or issues or messages we want to get to somebody, Craig, what
Planning and land use has been handling it for many years. I've been meeting with the port planners and architects for years.
well, what we could, I'm happy to invite them to talk to this group about that more specifically, seeing it's port property and, the spirit of reaching out and getting to know folks. Who's the main contact there then that this neighborhood council's been working with?
At the port?
Yeah.
It's changed 3 or 4 times. It's Diana would know right off the top of her head. I don't know.
Okay, well, if anybody wants to get that to me, I'm happy to do what I just did for Sergio and have an invitation. And if you've got, it's just kind of like with the connectivity report that I saw in November from the board, just kind of getting a sense of what they're going to do. Craig, is that the main thing?
It's part of the connectivity. There's a bunch of issues involved with connecting it all the way down to the park. the discussion in land use and planning, they don't, they, they totally saw that there was no transportation thing, but from what my understanding is, there's supposed to be a sidewalk connection all the way to the port. So you can't walk from, when I say here, I mean where I am, just from Channel Street. You cannot walk to the port down from Harbor, over from Harbor down that way. There's no sidewalks on either side, the Knoll Hill side or the port. You can call it the port side, the railroad track side. So, and supposedly they're supposed to complete that, but they are going to do the side that's
By the skate park?
by the skate park, and they've issued the money and it's gone out for quotes. Or what are they, RFP on it or all that, but I don't, they say they're gonna start, I don't know.
Okay.
And, that stuff gets, they've been telling us they were gonna do something for a while, they put it off.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle to walk around there. I do it fairly frequently too. I mean, everything, of course, where I go walking is further segmented off because it's Caltrans and everything like that. But the hillside corridor coming from Summerlin and going down to that Channel Street intersection is difficult.
Well, the Northwest or connections from Northwest to other parts of San Pedro, like going up Western.
Yeah.
It just ends. There's no streets. You go up Gaffey from the animal rescue, no
Nothing.
sidewalks.
Nothing.
Okay, you go, so there's a lot of stuff that's incomplete, but a lot of that's not port.
Right.
But what is port is from all the way down from where the Catalina terminal is to where I would say right opposite, I want to say it's Neptune Electronics, or they have the truck place there. There's no sidewalks.
Right.
And all the how do you put it? The bike paths are in bad repair. They're there, but the railroad track crossings are in bad repair. And so when you come along here, you go to the park. It was maintained by the port. The port passed it off to Parks and Rec. They're paying Parks and Rec to do it. They're not maintaining the park. It's in bad repair. There's weeds growing in the planters. The planters aren't being maintained. There's dead trees.
Which park are you referring to? Are you talking about Field of Dreams or the Knoll Hill or which
No,
one?
we're not. Knoll Hill isn't a park, and neither is Field of Dreams. Both of those are.
Wait, you're talking about
Those are better. Field of Dreams is sanitation property.
You're talking
and
about the
Knoll
Greenway.
Hill is port property, but it's being maintained by. But we're talking about the strip park,
The Greenway. Okay.
Parkway.
Didn't
Okay.
Didn't the neighborhood council, didn't you guys take that up at the last meeting about the condition of the trees and asking the city's arborist or the port, I think.
I didn't hear it in the meeting, but maybe I missed it.
I just walked out here. She would know that, but I know that there
No,
was.
I mean, I was looking for it. It wasn't on the agenda that I saw. But
I don't know.
maybe I was.
You may be right, Craig. I'm not sure of the status, but I know that somebody's working on it and they went out because we actually went out and counted the trees and so did Chuck Hart.
Chuck Hart. Yeah, no, I'm planning to go down there now that it's not raining. And I wanted to let a little time after the rain go by to see if they cleaned up. They don't regularly clean up the track. I was walking down there quite regularly. And, you know, it's,
Continue. I just wanted to see if I
I'm
had.
just, the screen just went crazy and I was like, okay.
No, I was
So,
trying to get some of the information that I'd received in November to see if it showed, because they did talk about this issue, right? But if they're not doing it for our area, we want to say, hey, look at all the money you're spending on sidewalks and bike paths for everyone. What about our area? So please continue, Craig, and then I'll have you educate me to see if it looks like what they're sharing is neglecting the area you're talking about.
It's a difficult little area that could easily get ignored because there's just where the skate park is and what Craig is talking about.
I didn't mean to interrupt, Craig. So if you wanted to finish your thought, Craig, and then
yeah, no, it's no problem. I mean, you know, and it's, you know, we were, it's one of my pet peeves because it's the only project that the port's really doing in Northwest. Okay, it's the only place and it constantly gets ignored. It's just other side, you know, it's right. So it's just adjacent to the Harbor Freeway. It's not even on this.
yeah, it's not on this plan. I can see that there's like a lot going on everywhere else, and then there's no yellow over in our area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have sidewalks all the way from the bottom of Channel to Wilmington. So that's all connected up to that park. But when you start coming, so from the port to basically into Northwest, there's no sidewalks. So that doesn't show. The little park, which was the only project that got done out of the China shipping funds in Northwest. And let's face it, we're really, the China shipping, we're the most affected by China shipping. We
Mhm.
look right over it. I'm pretty sure Pat can see it from his house. I definitely look out over at my house. And we didn't get any funds. We didn't get any, you know, they built the Hay Rookie Park on those funds. They built a lot of stuff on those funds, and the only thing they did was this little strip park, and now it's not being maintained. You know, we all know that the Parks and Recs maintenance of facilities is not that great. And this was one way, if you're, how you pass port money to city entities is by doing stuff like, oh, we'll give you money to maintain our park. So they give them money. How much of that money they spend on maintaining that park? When the port was maintaining that park, it was gorgeous. The trash was picked up on a regular basis. The trees were maintained, everything. The moment they stopped, it was very clear when you could see when that happened. When the Parks and Recs, I started seeing the Parks and Recs truck showing up every once in a while. They do some work, they leave trash, you know, it just the way it is. So I suggest we invite Parks and Recs to talk to us about that park, and that we talk to and the port. My feeling is the port needs to come back and take responsibility for that park.
Okay. Well,
And
I'm going to invite Augie, you know, and Mike Galvin was requested before, and I haven't seen a date on his arrival. So I'm going to add that as the context for what I'd like the port to address. Craig, and I'll give them, you know, the next couple meetings saying, you know, if you have a conflict again for February, then March, but let's get this on the books, you know, to discuss. And then I want to encourage us as members, once we know the dates, unless one of you know the dates, they're supposed to be winter 2022 to early summer community meeting number 1 and number 2 to discuss this plan. And I want us to go with this slide. I think I'll take a marker, and I just want to show, you know, look at all the landmarks here in our area and look at the lack of projects, right? This is very disproportionate. So I do think a few of us attending that, you know, just raising that point, and then the specifics and your story, Craig, I didn't have that background, but we'd like it to go back to the port. Please don't outsource it to Parks and Rec
Yeah.
because we're getting inferior.
I'll go out this week and take pictures of that park. I'll take pictures, I'll take some pictures down the other way.
Well, Craig, maybe you can,
Yes,
maybe you can help here. So the parkway ends at Gatun, and then it keeps going to Big Nick's Pizza. It's just sidewalk. It's just nasty sidewalk. Where is it supposed to be connected to the other side?
it
And
goes behind where the railroad tracks actually go behind.
right,
Big
right, right.
Nick's.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
area where they're gonna do it and put it
I
out.
see
That's
it.
the new,
I see.
I would like sidewalk all the way down. Gaffey on the,
Yeah, it would be nice.
it's,
But the channel,
what would we say, the
yeah,
east side? On the east, on both sides, it pretty much ends just past Home Depot.
right.
So people are walking in the street.
And then
there's a
it
little bit
dead
of-
ends again. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
so to
That's
5
ridiculous.
points,
Yeah,
there's a,
there's nothing. Yeah, it's awful.
and then there's a bike trail on both sides, and on the west side, a lot of it is overgrown and blocked by plants. So when I ride my bike down there, I'm constantly going in and out of the bike
Yeah.
path. And it's a common problem because a lot of time, like when you have these rains and stuff like that, all this stuff gets kicked over into the bike paths, and then you have to ride out of the bike path because, I'm riding on 21 millimeter tires. If I hit anything, but even if you got 30 millimeters or 35 millimeter tires, you hit something solid, it'll flip you. So,
Well,
and they're doing a lot of construction out there too. So yeah,
Craig,
go ahead.
have you ever done the cyclovia event from Wilmington on down? Because one of the things that they've promoted is that harbor bicycle trip all the way around from Wilmington and on down into our area. And they're going to continue to build on that and build on that bike path on that side, on the east side, but nobody from San Pedro will be able to get to it from that channel underpass at all.
No, you can't. It goes. The problem is how do you put it? They don't maintain the bike paths. They just,
Yeah,
if you
Yeah,
heard, they
who
were
knows?
just complaining. You're talking about Wilmington. Wilmington's been complaining because they changed Anaheim to 1 lane in each direction and put bike paths on. And I says, oh, great. I can go. One of my bike rides is out to Long Beach, or last time I went was all the way to Belmont Shores and back.
Wow.
But
You're a serious biker.
well, it helps. But the problem is, they did Anaheim. So the bike, what you're doing is you bike. I was biking from here. I would go through the park, at Elm Mill Park, and go through there, and I go up to Lomita and go down Lomita and then cross over and go over the bridges.
Mhm.
And that on PCH. And so I was saying, oh, maybe, Lomita gets really rough at certain places, even though they have bike trails on it. So I said, oh, let me go right. So I drove down on my car to see how they did the path. Well, they put it all the way to the first overpass. Now there's trails there, but they put it end of it, but they don't maintain those trails. They don't, the bike paths, I should say, they don't maintain them, and it doesn't go all the way. It starts and stops. So you have this thing where, and then you're looking at it and there's all this trash in it and everything else. So, it's sort of like, oh, we're putting in these bike paths for this, we want to encourage people to bike, but they're not giving us a way to do it. And, so that's the issue on the bike paths, but that doesn't go in any real, I mean, maybe it'd go in issues, but on all this port property, we can get them to maintain the bike paths, because if you look at both sides of, was that harbor, No Hill is port property, the other side is port property, the railroad tracks. And it's probably one of the most worst maintained road, bike path, and the roads aren't in that great shape either. And the railroads.
Yeah, considering the tremendous investment in hardscape for bike paths in other parts of Los Angeles, this isn't satisfactory.
How much of this is covered by the bike plan element of the city's general plan, transportation element?
I can't answer that. I haven't, I know they had stuff on it. I'll look it up.
That would be really interesting to know.
It's an interesting problem, and I think, Craig, you mentioned issues a minute ago.
Yeah.
Because 99% of the property that you've been talking about, excuse me, is not port property. Gaffey Street, for example, going up between Leland Park and then
The 5 points.
but the whole issue of the bike paths and the sidewalks. I mean, the sidewalks are part of the and the connection from Gatun over to Harbor Boulevard, or excuse me, to Gibson Boulevard is phase 2 of the plan, and I guess that's out to bid now. Diana just came in the room.
I need to check. It's supposed to be out to bid. I need
Supposed to
check
be
when
out to
it's
bid.
actually-
But
We need
you
to find
know,
out
the
who's
council, the neighborhood council has been working extensively with it, and it was a neighborhood council that made an application for the China shipping funds.
But
on the
coming from
other-
there, the other side of
On the
that,
other side of that, on the east side of Gibson Pacific there, along the railroad tracks,
they've already selected the bidder.
they've already selected the bidder for that one, and that'll include a sidewalk too, and bike path. So we'll get, that'll get us connected all the way from Home Depot down to the Vincent Thomas Bridge. It should.
Well, I hope, I'd like to look at the plan on that. I hope it's a dedicated bike path, not like what they've been doing where they just put it on the side of the road. Cause that section of road,
You must,
it's real dicey when you're a biker, when you're riding around these trucks. When I
Yeah.
go over the PCH and over those bridges, I am,
You're a brave man.
I'm not that brave, but I'm dedicated.
Because we
Dedicated, brave, foolish, yeah.
A little bit of each. It's just, I'm sitting there, I put mirrors on the bike and everything, but
you must have
know-
missed it, Craig, when they came to the planning committee and presented that plan. But I believe it's on our website on the planning page, and you can look at the plan.
okay.
Right.
Do you know,
Well, I wanted to direct us to the email of
Mhm.
request to get the port folks here to try to move forward. So right now I'm wishing Augie, a happy 2023 from each of us. And I think there's at least 3 issues. I've going to reiterate the request that I'd like somebody from the port at each of our meetings. It could be different folks. We had an outstanding request for Mike Galvin. So request that him or somebody with similar expertise, because Augie said it'll go through him and, they'll give us somebody, but we need to discuss what do we want to know about? So for that, it was planned and anticipated projects for 2023, right, to get on our radar. And because there is a conflict, sometimes I'm even offering a special meeting, if they let us know. I don't want that to be the reason they just never meet with us. So at least in the case of Mike. And then the second one, is this good phrasing? Or, help me edit this. The committee would like to discuss the connectivity plan for which SWA is seeking public input to address our concerns about the projects that affect Northwest San Pedro. We have stakeholders worried about access, in parentheses, sidewalks and bike paths from our part of San Pedro. Is that good enough?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna get much from Augie on this because all my dealings with Augie has been, he's good about it, telling us what the port, some of the things the port are gonna do, but he, every time we've asked specific questions of him, we don't get,
Yeah, that, that's
we
not
don't get
good.
much back. And he'll say, oh, I'll check on that. And I haven't, most of the time I haven't heard anything back. This has been going back
No, I agree
years.
that's what's happened to me now a couple of times. I think I'm gonna run into him 2 or 3 Thursday mornings a month so I can, remind him it's not you, Augie, because, we want to talk to somebody within the port. So I said, we'd like a person directly involved with this project and a member of SWA, because the other thing I'm going to point out when I go to this meeting that I didn't catch is this presentation doesn't give us a contact. I wouldn't be allowed to do that in my state position. I need to tell people if I'm making decisions, how to contact me to complain about it or compliment. I never really get compliments, but so this isn't very transparent if they really want the public input. And those the first community meeting should be coming up relatively soon. So, and there's no reason, if you really seek the input they want, they say here, they want a dynamic planning document, they want to be engaging. What better way to be engaging than to reach out to your neighborhood councils, at least the ones that are inviting you? So that's the pitch I'm going to make. And deliver to council members, representatives, and we'll see. I'm prepared to be ignored, but at least I want to be specific with what we want.
I'm wondering, how much involvement we can get from Gene Soroka. I mean,
Yeah, getting him.
I mean,
talk,
Wow.
he's out there.
Yeah.
And our thing is, it's, I remember a while back we never were having the slow show up to our meetings, and I went to actually a central neighborhood council meeting, and the captain from the police station was there, and I turned around to him and I said, so why don't we get representation from you at our meetings? And after that, every single meeting we had a slow show up. He was shocked. And I don't think, I think people, I mean, Augie does what I think he thinks his job is, but I don't think I don't think he's telling Gene, well, they're asking me about this and they're asking me about that. I got it. He's telling them I got it handled. And I think we're looking for a different kind of, we don't want to be handled. We want information or input, which we're not getting either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that does bring up a particular issue where I had bypassed Augie and it was returned to me. Why didn't you bring Augie into the conversation? So that was something that I got my hand slapped for. But
I mean, I've had similar things, and I say because I don't get a response, and which is generally what happens. I understand. We all understand what's going on here. We all know. I mean, Augie can be very nice and very thing, and he gets really upset when you go around him. But it's gotten to the point where we need to be engaging with with the departments who are doing this stuff, and not being handled or played with. I mean, we're the ones who have to live with this every day.
Well, I mean, I can copy him on this email if we want to at this point. I've got a question as I was looking up his email, which I'm glad to see it is on the website, easy to find. Who is David Labatique?
yeah, that's who I was looking for. That is another person who should be in on this. I was actually looking for my spreadsheet on port contacts. That was the name I was looking for. You can hang on a moment. Forgive me, I have to look for the contacts.
I Tom?
Yep.
Some of these issues have been steadily worked on by other committees of your neighborhood council. I think, for example, on the phase 2 issue, and where does that stand? Phase 2 of the Greenwood Parkway thing has been extensively briefed. I would be concerned about the port saying, "Hey, we've been to your neighborhood council 5, 6, 7, 8 times. We've had working meetings where they worked out the plans, and your board has taken action on this over the years, so forth. Why do we got to come and talk to another committee about it?"
I don't think that's an issue.
But Thomas, the title,
In to talk about that, talk about hitting the net with a hammer.
I mean, let's put it this way. We don't have a lot of issues to work on right now, and we haven't for a while in our committee. And while like land use and planning has a ton, this is a port matter, and
What makes it a
that,
what makes it a
and we
port
should have
matter?
been working on it. And it has been in port committee before, and it was previously in port committee.
Well, I'm sorry.
so Thomas, to answer the job title, the last job title I have for David, unless he's been given another job title, is the stakeholder engagement. He's the deputy executive director.
Yeah,
Stakeholder engagement.
that's what he's currently listed at
Yeah.
on there. And so I wondered if Augie reports to him, or it would seem that David would be somebody we might want to invite.
David, yeah, David has been very, I've met with him on a couple of other kind of breakout meetings. This was about 3 or 4, God, it's longer than that because of 2 pandemic years. It was about 4 years ago. There was a kind of a breakout community stakeholder group, and David LaBoutique was there with Augie and Chris Cannon. And it was a very productive meeting, but it never went any further than that.
And yeah, so I see, we get Augie, and Augie's title is, he's not under the
Community Affairs Advocate.
Community Affairs Advocate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know he's lived, his family's lived here for 100 years, and went to Mary Star of the Sea. So that's everywhere. Every time I see him, I hear and see that. But trying to understand what he does. So
He's a public relations guy. I mean, it's
yeah, but the stakeholder person is in the executive group of the 5 with the general counsel. So I don't know, or was Pat recommending that I not copy him or make a request, or that will look foolish and uninformed, or
Maybe no, David LaBoutique is a good person, but I think Augie might be might have his.
I'm sending, my intention is to send it to Augie, right, and assume they don't help, but I want to signal that, seeing we haven't gotten a lot out of Augie, we're copying others. So should I copy Gene? And I definitely want to copy David, just as way of introduction. I think I'll send him an invitation just to.
I think David's a good choice.
Okay.
I always find copying other people means that they tend to follow through. And it's it's because it means, oh, somebody else may be looking.
Right. Well, and the third thing that I wanted to say is, committee, I'd also like a member of the port working on the PIP process, discuss this in the committee. Please note, we can schedule these meetings over the next 5 months, try to do it by May, to ensure we give plenty of time and notice for the port to identify individuals to meet with us. So it's not, I don't want to drive by like Augie 1 minute and then at the beginning and he had to go and then 5 minutes at the end. They can be planful, we'll be respectful, but we would like to meet with folks. Pat, any of those three topics, do you think that I shouldn't be sending a request on it? I've heard consistently from this group interest in each of these things and
Environmental concerns, EIRs and things like that. Christopher Cannon is a good jumping
Excuse
off
me,
point.
Pat, do you know you're muted?
Yeah, I knew I was muted.
Okay, just because he kept asking you questions and I saw your mute button was on, so I was just wondering if
No,
you
thanks for
knew.
that. Diana and I are talking about other things. She's folding laundry over here next to me.
But the director of environmental management is Christopher Cannon, of course.
and so
Well, here's my concern, Tom, in response to your question is that I don't want us to look foolish by asking them to come and talk to us about things that they've been working with us on for years, or that are in that other committees, issues and planning and land use primarily are working on. I think that they'll look at that and they say, aren't these people talking to each other? Or
well, my response would be, and when we're asking for 30 minutes of their time, over the course of a year, we haven't put in a request before. And I would say, it sounded like I heard from Craig and I heard from Gwen that in spite of our, interacting with other members and Craig's on the planning and land use committee, right? There's still some questions about why things aren't being done. So it feels fair because I guess I'm softening it. Should I be more direct, just saying we have some real concerns then? And we feel the port should listen to people from Northwest San Pedro more, or maybe, I know I have ignorance, so I don't go to that planning and land use meeting. So maybe they get plenty of that and they show up regularly and they would be like, show up to that meeting. Is that the sense? Or I'm just trying to amplify the voice thing. I hear frustration that for decades, nothing's being fixed, nothing's being done when we see, hey, rookie pool or, other examples that seem really inequitable.
well, the part from Gibson Boulevard over to the Vincent Thomas Bridge is already starting in construction now, and then the contract and the designs and the architectural work and everything for phase 2 of Gaffey Street beautification project has been
Presented several times.
presented and finished and completed.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
if there just seems to be a little concern about extensions and complete connectivity, would it best be brought up? Well, we are the discussion originally just about 20 minutes ago was that we would come to a planning and land use meeting and
Well, for Gaffey Street beautification.
Yeah.
Have you taken a look at the plans that are on the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council website?
I don't know about the Gappy ones, but the Harbor Boulevard and
The Harbor Boulevard one is on
Pacific
there,
Avenue is on there, sure.
is on our
Which month is that?
month. I don't know what month it is, but
It's on the planning page.
okay.
Okay.
NWSPNC. But look, there were some items on your list that I think haven't been taken up or are new or something like that, and particularly the PAIP issue. That really is a port matter
Hmm.
and not really affected that much by planning and land use. Well, a little bit, but
Everything's
mostly-
been taken and discussed in planning and land use.
No,
It's not,
that's an exaggeration.
almost everything in here
I was talking.
has a
Cleveland
one,
Directory.
almost, and the point is, we're the port committee, this is port business. We should have some
No.
input and some saying in it that we were, I know that the port committee was defunct for several years, but we're back and we need to start taking back the stuff that we were doing.
Harbor Street or Gaffey Street beautification affects people a whole lot more than just port people or things related to the port. You probably you're aware. I know that the trees that are parked that are the problem along Gaffey Street are not even on port property. So
Yeah.
But
The ones that are on the port the Gaffey Street, pardon me, the ones that Chuck Hart was talking about were in that is in the port property side.
No, it's not.
You're not on port property, but the port may be responsible for it.
I can tell you the background of that if you want to know it, but it's not port property. Anyway, look, we've been talking about this stuff for a long time, but if we can talk about the PAIP, that one I think was on your list, Tom.
Yeah, so that, so, I mean, I thought we had agreement on one, to have Mike Galvin from meetings ago, just to see if he would share with us anticipated projects, and I thought that would give us the environmental. Should I put Mike Galvin or Chris Cannon, or do we really need two different meetings?
I don't think you need either. Well,
Or I said another member of similar expertise, right? We're just trying to get a sense of the anticipated projects. I know you've identified a few that were on our radar, or maybe now that we're at January, we don't need that anymore. But that was a past request. And then, I think seeing the SWA is a port thing, and they have a group being paid to do broad input. I think that would be consistent just to say we're willing to, and they can say no to these things or say it's too much. But then the PAP, it sounds like you're agreeing we could. And then I'm going to put a caveat here, that, we can schedule these over time. And I'll reiterate with Augie on Thursday, it's just to start building a relationship. We members of the community, we want to be more informed and want to be of service. So,
okay.
but let's talk about PAP then.
Excuse me, Diana wants to say something.
Oh, no, I just want to say, yeah, I think the port taking more ownership on the PIP is great. What I do want to say is that I think it's important that as background, you read all the positions that the board has previously taken on the PAIP and all the projects that we did endorse on the PIP. That doesn't mean we can't change it, but at least that you have that background.
Yep.
And if you talk about that, and if you talk about the connectivity, we just did that big letter of input to SWA on the connectivity plan, saying that we wanted to work with them. So make sure if you're talking about that with people, you understand what the board's already adopted. That's all.
Yeah, okay, and I can add that, in conjunction with the letter already sent by the committee.
The report is, and I think you have a copy of it, Tom, as a board letter. That's what it's called. It's ready to
Board
go
letter,
to,
okay.
ready to go to the Board of Commissioners from staff, proposing that the Board of Harbor Commissioners adopt the new version of the PAIP.
Yeah.
There were two things in that proposal that were confusing to me, and I think that I'd like to see the neighborhood council take a position on. We don't have a quorum, so we couldn't draft a motion here. So anything that came up would have to be a motion from a member of the neighborhood council. What with Craig, do we have a quorum? Do we have four people?
Let's see, we had one person officially removed, so I've got to re-look up that website.
If we have 7, we're good.
Yeah, we do have a quorum now because of the one person dropping off.
Okay, well,
And that was approved. That was noted in the consent agenda for our last.
Yeah,
meeting.
but we can't make a motion unless it's in the,
Yeah, we do need to give notice, so, but a member could do that at a later time and get that on that agenda. Yeah, so we can at least discuss what this committee would like to see happen, but can't vote on it. And just in terms of the request, though, I've got the language to Augie about working the PAP process to discuss, should it be more specific, changes to the PAP process, or
well, they're looking at. Yeah, I see. Right in terms of the agenda, that PAIP thing was supposed to go up in section 9, report related motions. I still think we can draft something though, and if somebody can present it, the basis for having a motion come up to the board out of committee is, then you don't have to have a motion and a second at the time of the board
Yeah,
meeting.
but we can discuss this, you know, if you want them, you know, somebody would have, in other words, we can't make a motion or propose a motion in the meeting because it's not agendized.
And I don't think it'd be hard to get a second. I mean, we've got members here as, you know, that can take care of it at the stakeholder meeting. And we want the whole board's member there. And the board hasn't imposed on that committee to do a lot of work. We've had no motions, so I'm happy to take any slings for people upset. You know, let the president know we have material and you know, make sure we get the items there in time. So anyway, Pat, you know, outline what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's part of it. Part of it is a concern that concerns me is that the board of harbor commissioners is likely to consider this at one of its next two meetings. It really puts and since they meet every other Thursday, really puts a time squeeze on us to let our feelings be known. But there were two things here that I think and a PAIP program is a very important one. It's a lot of money and it's a long period of time, 10 years that they're looking at. And 10% of their operating profits. They're looking at maybe $230 million over the 10-year period. So, but there were two things that really stood out to me in the board letter. One is that they the original PAIP concerned money for infrastructure and money for maintaining and operating the infrastructure, and there's no mention of that operating element in this draft of the board letter that's being circulated. And so I don't know what they're intending to do about that. I have a call into Mike Galvin to ask him that question, but if it's not covered when they take it to the board, it seems to me they ought to. And at this point in time, because they may actually consider it before the Northwest board meets again, maybe it's going to take a letter or something like maybe from you, Tom, or from Ray or somebody like that to raise the question and ask them how they're intending to handle that maintenance, because their estimates were that maintenance costs over the 10-year period would be the same, about equal to the infrastructure money that they were putting in. So it's a lot of money there too. The other thing is that is section 907 of the city charter, the early warning system. The Harbor Commission is probably one of the commissions in the city that pays very little attention to this requirement of the charter. I'm going to read two sentences if I may. I know it takes a little bit of time, but the early warning system says regulations to be adopted, you know, to implement the charter shall establish procedures for receiving input from neighborhood councils prior to decisions by the city council committees, and boards and commissions. The procedures shall include, but need not be limited to, notice to neighborhood councils as soon as practical, and a reasonable opportunity to provide input before decisions are made. Notices to be provided include matters to be considered by council committees, boards, or commissions. So I'd like to ask them, you know, if they can explain what they've done to secure input. I want the commissioners to you know, I'd love to see the Harbor Commission, you know, instruct staff, look, you know, start paying attention to the neighborhood councils and make sure you get the input from them. And that should be part of the board letter, you know, representing what you've done to talk to the community. So those are the 2 points that I'd like to.
I'd like to suggest,
Mhm.
which, because nothing's been agendized and we can't do that. Why don't we set up a meeting in a week? And you send us this stuff that you've just outlined. We can agendize it, and if we can then make up a motion.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think this is material enough. We've done a special meeting before.
I can participate in that.
what if we did this? I mean, doing a special meeting is good, but we have the, quorum issues and things that might come up. I don't know. What if we said, let's ask the executive board to consider.
So what we have,
Wait a minute, let me
that's the
finish.
point. Why
Let
are
me-
we putting stuff out to,
let
why
me
aren't
finish.
we doing our own work?
Let me
Why are we
finish.
putting it to executive board? Why are you shopping this out?
Yeah,
If we
if
should
four
be
of us-
doing this and we should be discussing this and we
Let
should be,
finish my sentence.
well,
We
go
can
ahead, Pat.
we can all attend the executive committee and that could be,
we don't have input, we won't have the same input on the executive board. And
Why
it
do-
should be
why do you
coming out of our committee. This
why do you think that?
this is just another example of shopping. And this is not what we're supposed to be doing. The
Oh, we're supposed
executive
to be
board
doing
is,
what we're
should be the last resort, not doing, and we can meet again. And if you're worried about having a quorum, we have a quorum. We have a quorum now.
What I heard is that Gwen, myself and Craig, so as long as you, Pat, or somebody else is willing to get together, and if we've got the documents, let's just keep it really short and meet. So I think we can try to do that. Exec is an option too, if we can't come up with a calendar date, but we could just look at calendars. Gwen?
Well, I'm willing to meet for a special meeting, but these are some of the considerations. We should have had a quorum. Well, I mean, theoretically, had we had motions for this meeting, we've struggled with having quorum. And there was a bit of a discussion about we do need to have more confidence and more commitment in our committee to really get things rolling. If we can have a little more consistency, that would help. But some of the struggles with having the special committee is we do have to bring this to the secretary. The secretary has to do another layer. There is the option of scheduling it and being present at an already scheduled meeting. And the executive board meeting is meant for a possibility of, if something needs to be gotten through, they can discuss and approve it and agendize it. That's all they're doing, is putting it on the agenda. So
Pardon me,
not-
Pat had an opportunity to present this. You sent out a thing saying, oh, what do we have to agendize? Obviously, Pat has thought about this,
Yeah,
and this was not put there. And then now we're going, oh, let's take it to the executive committee. We're just, why do we even bother having a port committee at all? We could let Pat take everything to the executive committee. That's what he's been doing before.
No, let me give a suggestion here as a co-chair. I want to apologize. I did get a note on about Monday to put this on the right part of the agenda when I sent the call out, and thought I sent that version when I was in Bulgaria to the secretary. I didn't check to see which version she posted, and she didn't post that one. And I didn't catch it. I was busy in a different time zone and flying back here. So that's totally on me. It was, and I apologize to Pat earlier this morning for messing that up. So I feel bad. I don't have memorized when this executive committee meets, but if I could ask folks to forgive me for the mistake, and just to, what I'd love to see is a draft of the document, because normally at, the other meetings and other things that I'm at, we have a draft of the material to discuss the meeting. And then I think we could make it a very short meeting. We're just, voting up or down on the two proposals. And whether it goes to the executive committee or not, I'm guessing exec works the same way, Pat. You'd have to have a document ready that goes out with their agenda.
yeah, I'm confused about this shopping thing. I guess Craig is alleging that.
Yeah, I don't want
We'll get a
to.
different-
I'm not
if
alleging,
we could
Pat. You
avoid-
know exactly what I'm
If we could
saying.
avoid, if we could, focus on just trying
I don't know
to.
much of what you're saying at all, Craig. I can't
Yeah, you
tell
don't
what you're
care.
talking about most of
I
the
know.
time.
Yeah, no, I'd like to just focus on actually taking action on these two things in a way that gets it done.
This takes twice as much work to do it through a special meeting than to take it to the executive board, but if that's what you want to do, fine.
Oh, we lost Gwen now.
It's hard to schedule one.
Because then you got to post, write up the agenda and then post it and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to do that if we just run it through execs. I trust
It
the.
still has to be agendized on the executive committee.
And what
The
what's the
same
date?
information
Oh,
has
they-
to be put out there.
I'm gonna look it
So,
up.
but this way you can bypass everybody. It's
Well, so-
okay.
So what I have
Just
is
tell
that
me
exec
do it.
doesn't meet until,
There too, Greg.
so quick point of information. And we've lost our quorum. Exec meets the first Monday of the month, which seems like it's too late. Is that not accurate on our website?
First Monday of the month?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's before the next board meeting.
That's before the next board meeting.
So,
Monday is the board meeting.
so my proposal is we try to find a time on Thursday or Friday of next week to meet for an hour, to just take care of it ourselves.
Yeah.
Are you free that day, Pat? On
I
times?
don't know, what are the numbers on the days?
I'll give you the numbers.
Well, the 19th would be the 26th, would be a Thursday.
So, yeah, it would be the 26th or 27th.
All right, we're in town, right?
We're in town, we have company, but if
Yeah,
it's only
company.
an hour, you can manage.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
can do it.
I hope to make it like the last special meeting we had was, once we all got on, it was like a half hour. Now it took a while for people to get on, but you have Craig, any work constraints? I actually am very open that day. The teaching hasn't really kicked in, so I've got early morning availability at 9 or availability from 1 on Thursday.
Later would be better, 1 on, like 2 o'clock.
Okay, does 2 work for you, Pat? On the 26th?
Would be good, Diana tells me.
2 would be good. Okay, so I'm going to draft the agenda, and that's my punishment for screwing up.
If we, if for some reason that the meeting can't take place or something like that, our backup plan can be just to take it to executive.
Yeah, no, that I agree, but if we can do it before, it gives us a little bit more time, and I think it actually could go faster because we're familiar with this. We don't have to bring other members up to speed.
I
on-
apologize, I got kicked off.
Okay, so I was hoping you weren't mad at me.
Yes, Gwen's available at that time.
Yeah, so Gwen, we're looking at the special meeting option because it would be before the executive meeting. Are you available Thursday, the 26th at 2 o'clock?
Let me take a look. At what time again?
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock. Thursday.
Yeah.
26th.
26th.
Yes, I see. Yeah, I will make myself available. Putting it in.
Another housekeeping meeting. The only links I have to these meetings are the ones that I have to wait outside to be brought in. And we should have it so
Well,
I
committee
have
members should come directly in, and I don't know where.
the panelist email? Check.
Yeah.
The best
checked
way.
it.
You
The
really-
last time they sent me one was a bogus one. I've had several bogus ones, so.
I had the same problem today before when we're waiting for everybody. I had to get let in too. And so I don't know if it's Victor who does that or not, but that has been my consistent. I'm surprised because on the other ones I can come in as a panelist if I do that one.
Let me find the date of the one that I know was an overall one that I believe that all been on the group. Let me find the date. If you type in the word panelist and then look for a particular date, just if you can bear with me for a moment.
Okay.
Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to send Victor your meeting dates and the email list of who you want it sent to, who your committee members are, their email and name, and he will and ask him to redo it.
Yeah, I will.
I mean, several times I've gotten them from him and I tell him, hey, this didn't connect me up at all. I would have to go back to the other thing, and that's happened with board meetings too. And
Yeah, there's
he
something
has a
about-
hard time understanding that something was sent wrong.
Well, and I get that too. I send
I have
out
it.
these Outlook that are for the whole year. And I find by the second or third meeting, they're not working for my attendees. So I've I've defaulted to, if I really want them there, to resend it, send it different. I think it just happened to me today. So I think there's something with the way that goes into some of our outlooks. But
I might get kicked off again. Let me give you this date really quick. November 17th, he sent every date between December and July of this year.
Oh, do you have to individually take each of those and add them? Is that what you're
No,
doing?
no. It is a single link that will be good for us for every single one of the third Tuesdays up until July of this year.
And then do you paste it yourself on each date, or?
There's an invitation. There's a link
You
that
say
will.
from December 17th?
No, November
17th.
17th. Yeah, look
Okay.
for it. It arrived for me at 7:31 p.m. And that should have been the overall blast for all of the committee members.
Okay.
But there's an add to calendar, add to Google, add to the Yahoo calendar, iPhone, whatever. There's
No,
an actual link that will place it there.
That's usually how Vic does it. I didn't have
Yeah.
one for the port committee. I had one for joint sustainability and for planning and land use, but
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, because I thought he told me he did it, and I feel like it worked for me for a while, and then it stopped working. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what that one lasted. Okay, I see it now. It's titled really weird.
It's
Panelist
called,
for,
it's panelists. Yeah,
yeah, it should say your Zoom, so you know what it is. because
Exactly.
It doesn't, it's,
panel, it's always been a cumbersome thing. I actually, Craig, I don't know why it's called panelist, but it's been since the very beginning. And it's
yeah, but it's really insuccinct. But I've used these before and they haven't connected up, but we'll see.
it's
I've
the
got
click
it
here, use the click here to join link that's down below.
Zoom link, yeah.
No, monthly, click here to join.
I don't know how to search
Let's see if
now.
it,
I didn't
man.
search right earlier.
yeah, now it comes in, but
This is really messy.
because I've used these before and they didn't link up right, but okay.
I don't know how. So yours is probably there too.
Tom?
Yep.
When you do the meeting notice for next week, my suggestion is that you say the subject and say motions may, the usual language about any matter on the agenda may result in motions. Because I don't know how much of it I'll get done in time for you to put the motion out with the agenda notice.
Well, we just need the brief thing for the motion.
Yeah.
But we need the background information.
We will need to get a new Zoom link. for
Yeah,
it.
you also, Tom, you're gonna need a new Zoom link too.
yeah, that I go to Victor for, right?
Yeah,
Okay, maybe the problem is that he sends two things in that email. One is this big ICUS file, and then there's one for just the next meeting. I don't know.
it's, it should have been, if it said panelist, it doesn't say what you're talking about. So when you're saying, Zoom, if he would have said, oh, this is your Zoom contact for the next 6 months, which is how I would put it. But he's just saying, click here without giving us the number.
You don't need the number. If you just, the link.
Yeah,
should work
no,
for-
well, I would prefer having,
Okay.
when it inputs in a number, I can just copy and paste instead of, I hate doing click here's for something because that's how you get,
He's got a format that he uses for all of the committees of the neighborhood council. So if you can talk him into changing it, that'd be fine. I don't think anybody cares.
All right. Anything else we want to discuss? I know we're past our time approximate for ending, but I think this has been a good team building exercise. I've learned a good deal. I think we're moving towards some progress and getting close to our first agendized actions. next week, and I appreciate, people's forgiveness for my mistaken willingness to spend an extra hour next Thursday.
Are you back in town?
Yep.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you miss all the rain or just part of it?
I missed most of it, and boy, it was so beautiful today driving up north to bring my kids to school. I saw the snow-capped mountains, and after a rain, this place is so beautiful. So
It
I
is.
apologize for you guys suffering through the rain, but today the sunny day was
It's not
absolutely
minus-
gorgeous.
It's not -20 like it was back in Minnesota, right?
Oh, no, and I took these students to a place that was only 34, which for me isn't that cold, but it was funny to see some Californians who'd never left the country deal with, and when I went to the mountains, it got below freezing. So, I told them you need gloves, and their problem was their shoes, as I figured. Their hands and hats were warm, but I think women's shoes, it's hard to put woolen socks in, or so their feet were getting a little cold on our walks. But everybody came back alive with no frostbite. One of them didn't listen to me on checking. She bought a knife, and I said, put it in checked bags, but maybe she didn't understand what that meant. So we almost missed our flight coming back yesterday because she had it in her hand luggage. I'm thinking you cannot bring a knife on a plane. And I was like, oh man, I almost wanted to abandon her because just get on the plane, because when you try to bring a knife into the airport, it takes extra screening and extra time. So, but anyway, those are the lessons you really learn, right? Experience. She paid $100 for that knife too. But anyway,
They confiscated?
yeah, of course they confiscated it. And there wasn't, I've seen at Minneapolis, people, sometimes they give a bag, you can have it mailed to you for a cost or whatever, but Bulgaria does not offer that option. They just take your knife.
Yeah.
Or she could have stayed, but she could have stayed and checked it, but we were literally running for the plane, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess the public didn't need to know all that. Anything
It's all
else?
relative. I mean, I think it's freezing. I was laughing because last year my daughter was in Texas. And it was freezing, they had that big thing, and this year she's somewhere that's very warm. I can't, and now it's been dropping down to the 50s and 60s, and she's talking about how cold it is.
How are they doing?
Excuse me?
How are they
They're
doing?
doing She's doing good. She's out of the country and he's in Virginia, so that's,
I was thinking about him today, and I was wondering what Drew is up to, because he's like an EMT, right?
yeah, he's working at a clinic. He moved in with his girlfriend. They live in Wilmington. But yeah, Drew's 2 inches taller than me, or maybe 3 now. Cause I shrunk.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, me too.
But he's, I don't know. I'm sure, well, you've gone through it, and Mr. Norman here is going through it now. You blink your eyes and all of a sudden they're not your little kids anymore.
Yeah, well, I suppose they're still always your kids. That's what Diana tells me anyway. But yeah, ours are 52 and 50, and they're still our kids.
Yeah, that's the point where when I look at him and my daughter got married and now she's talking about having kids, and I'm sitting here going, when did all this happen? I mean, it was
That's
just
the next
yesterday.
phase. Yeah, when they actually have the grandkids, boy, that'll make me feel different.
It always does. I mean, well, Pat's there. How many
Yeah.
grandkids you got now?
6.
6? Yeah.
Same. I'm working on our deck in the backyard, and the one who's 18 now helped me when he was 13 do it. And I was thinking, hey, I got one turning 13 next year. I'm going to get him up here next summer and help me build my project. That's what you get to use grandkids for. And then we're taking the 18-year-old on a trip in June, so that'll be a fun time. But boy, you're right, time goes by really quick.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally, well, I mean, I was on the neighbor council for 16 years, which was the majority of, Nisi was 12. And
She was
Drew
our
was
youth-
7.
yeah, she was our youth member, wasn't she?
Yeah, for 2 years.
Yeah, couple years, yeah. She worked real hard on the job fair thing. That was her, probably the project I remember the best.
That was her, yeah, that was her idea. She was, and she's still, she's still pretty gung ho. She does that, she's very involved with what, now with the government, with what she does, so.
Yeah.
It's, and I gotta say, so you took your kid up to Berkeley?
Yep.
Yeah, my daughter went to the Santa Cruz and I missed the drive up there.
That's-
Not the length of it, but like what you were just discussing, the beautiful,
I think Tom probably was referring to Ben and Abby taking them up to the school up by Dominguez Hills, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, just the drive today, seeing our mountains here, but you're right, the Santa Cruz area is where my sister lived up until 2 years ago, and she moved to Arizona to take care of my dad. And that's, I feel bad because she was telling me during the whole trip about how her friends are just rained out, right? There's serious flooding and a lot of bad things around Santa Cruz. And was it Capitola? Did the pier just disappear? Like I saw a news article on that. So
yeah.
the rains were really bad.
That I used to go out there to see Nisi and I would sit there and say, look, I went to Long Beach and Northridge, I never saw anything like that. Where you were sitting up there in the redwood forest and looking over the Monterey Bay,
Yeah.
that was nice. But the drive up, I mean, Northern California is really beautiful, and
Yeah,
the roads.
even around Oakland, once when I'm going to see Alec there, the hills and stuff, there's some really pretty areas around there. And he's gotten good about using public transportation. He took me to a little spot underneath the Golden Gate Bridge where you get good photos, and it's kind of natural. So there, lots of neat things. I got him a bike, and I should tell him that how far you bike, like, because it's like, with the bike you could do a lot more, and it's a good way to stay in shape. But so far he's been doing everything on the BART and a lot of walking, which has made his siblings, like, once he's like, oh, just gonna go for a walk, and it was like an hour and a half walk. So his younger sister were not excited about that. But we don't have money, right? Walk it's free. So he's really used to walking.
Is he still home or is he back up in Berkeley now?
I just brought him to the airport today. So his class has started today, but he went on the Bulgaria trip. So he missed his first lectures to participate. He could have gone right from the airport there, but he wanted to get his stuff and whatever. So, and I guess at Berkeley, they record all the lectures and it's just passing out the syllabus. So he said he's not missing anything. He'll just watch the professor say what's in the syllabus. So trust him into that. All right. Well, I'm sending you guys an Outlook invite and copying Victor for his help. I will make sure to put the language pad in the agenda that I will get out for publication, that any item on the agenda may result in a motion, but also it'd be good to have as much prep material so that I can put in with the packet in our folder for that special meeting. I've done this once before, so I feel pretty confident that now that I'm here and I have my computer, I'm not working on a tiny little notebook and not relying on internet connectivity in the woods, because I was in a remote location for the evenings where we stayed, that I can get this handled. So
Yeah, this is just the 2 points that I saw. If you guys see or if you read the draft board letter that's out there now, because the Board of Harbor Commissioners publishes its board letters before the meetings. If you see something in there, let me know, and I can maybe include it in the draft motion. Otherwise, it may be when we have our.
You need to send it out to your members.
I'll try to get it to.
Yeah, if you could get the link.
I'll get something to you as soon as I can, but it's probably not going to be until next week because we're leaving town early Thursday morning and we're busy tomorrow all day. So I'll be back on Monday and try and get something. Maybe I can work on it while we're out of town.
In the meantime, you can send Craig and Gwen the board documents that I sent to you and Tom.
Okay, yeah, Tom and I have that draft board letter, and Diana's suggesting, Gwen, that we send it, and Craig, we'll send that over, forward it over to you, and you can read it
Thank you.
It is kind of, the PIP is a lot of money and a lot of time, and it's been a matter of interest to the neighborhood councils for the last 10 years, so.
We did a
um,
lot of work on it.
Yeah, we did a lot of work on it. I mean, the first PIAP project came about because the neighborhood councils raised such a stink about not being consulted on these waterfront projects, so. Okay, we'll get that out tonight.
Okay.
Thank
That'd
you.
be helpful. Thank you.
Gwen, are
Okay.
we gonna see you tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. So the hike is 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Then we're gonna plant afterwards.
and we'll have a discussion. I joined a San Francisco group that has been doing restoration to bring back a little butterfly called the green hair streak.
We can talk
And
about that tomorrow. That's not part of the
Yeah.
report.
no, I know. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well,
Y'all have a good day. Thank you a
yeah.
lot.
can I
Thank
adjourn
you.
the meeting and stop recording?